Right. So today we're diving deep, deep into Dan Sullivan's The Laws of Lifetime Growth.
Ooh, very cool.
Yeah. We've got excerpts from his book.
Okay.
And it's full of stories, all kinds of people, and
Right.
we're on a mission, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
To extract the wisdom on how to keep growing,
Okay.
like throughout life. It's not just about getting older.
Oh, right.
It's about, continually leveling up
Exactly.
no matter where you are right now.
And what's really cool about Sullivan's approach is he uses real life examples,
Yeah.
He's not just talking about these things in theory. He's showing us how these laws play out in the messy reality of people's
Right.
successes, failures, those aha moments.
Right, exactly. It's not just theoretical. It's like seeing these laws in action.
Yeah.
So, Law 1, always make your future bigger than your past.
Wow.
That's a powerful statement to kick things off.
Right. It really sets the tone. It's about shifting that focus from what's behind you to what's ahead of you.
Right.
And Sullivan tells this amazing story about a woman named Hilda, a teacher who truly embodied this law.
Okay.
She grew up with limited resources, faced all sorts of hardships, but always chose to envision a future that was bigger and brighter.
It's easy to get caught up in dwelling on the past.
Yeah.
But her story really shows us that it's a choice. We can use those past experiences,
Absolutely.
even the difficult ones, as fuel to propel ourselves toward a bigger future.
And she didn't just talk the talk; she walked the walk.
Right.
Even when she was faced with a terminal illness, she used her remaining time to learn the Lahu language from children in a Thai village.
Oh, wow.
Talk about a commitment to growth.
Such a really powerful example of how a bigger future can be about personal growth, expanding your horizons.
Absolutely.
Not just external achievements or material success. It's about constantly reaching for something more, even in the face of adversity.
And it reminds us that growth is accessible to everybody, no matter the circumstances. Which brings us to Law 2,
Okay.
Always make your learning greater than your experience.
Okay, so it's not just about racking up experiences. It's about extracting those golden nuggets of wisdom, right?
Exactly. Sullivan emphasizes that even seemingly insignificant events can be packed with valuable lessons if we just pay attention. He tells a funny anecdote about a woman named Catherine who had a major microwave mishap. Yeah, she was trying to carry too many things at once, including a heavy microwave. And, it all came crashing down.
Oh, no. I can just picture it. What kind of lesson can you learn from a falling microwave?
Well, instead of just brushing it off as a silly mistake, Catherine used it as an opportunity to reflect on her habits. She realized she was always trying to do too much, constantly juggling, rushing. And it was a wake-up call that led her to make lasting changes in how she managed her time and stress.
That's so relatable. It's so easy to get caught up
in the
hustle and bustle of life without stopping to reflect on what we're learning along the way. Catherine's story reminds us that learning opportunities are everywhere.
Absolutely.
Even in the most unexpected places. Take a moment. Think about your own week. Was there a seemingly small event that might hold a bigger lesson if you examine it closely?
Right. It's about being mindful and asking ourselves, what can I take away from this experience? Now let's shift gears to Law 3. Always make your contribution bigger than your reward.
Okay. This one feels like it's about shifting the focus from what's in it for me to how can I make a difference.
Exactly. It's about creating value for others, not just chasing personal gain. Sullivan tells a story of an artist named Matthew Passmore who decided to build a cabinet national library in the New Mexico desert.
A library in the middle of the desert.
Yes.
That's definitely not your typical contribution.
It wasn't, and he didn't do it with any expectation of fame or fortune or anything like that. He simply saw a way to contribute something unique and meaningful to the art world.
Right.
And went for it.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
What happened to this library in the desert? Did anyone even find it?
It actually became an unexpected cultural landmark.
Wow.
And even opened doors to opportunities Passmore never anticipated.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's a great example of how a seemingly unconventional contribution can have a ripple effect, creating value and impact far beyond the initial effort.
It's inspiring to think that even small acts of contribution done with genuine intention
Yeah.
can create a positive impact. Now, Law 6, always make your enjoyment greater than your effort.
Ooh, yeah.
This one speaks to my soul.
It's a game changer, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know, Sullivan believes that finding ways to infuse joy and playfulness into our work and life is crucial for sustained growth.
Yeah.
And he shares a story of a man named Clifford Shearing, who, as a young farmhand, turned a tedious task into a fun challenge.
Okay, I'm intrigued. What was this tedious task?
Well, he was assigned to paint hundreds of fence posts white, which is
Yeah.
a pretty mind-numbing job. But instead of just slogging through it, he decided to make a game out of it.
Okay.
He engaged his fellow farmhands, turned it into a friendly competition, and they ended up finishing the job way ahead of schedule.
That's a great example of how a little creativity and a playful attitude can transform even the most mundane tasks.
Yeah.
But did the farmer appreciate this most innovative approach?
He did not.
Oh no.
Shearing actually got fired for it.
All that fun, and he got fired.
But here's the thing, that experience, even though it ended, with him losing his job, taught him valuable lessons about leadership and creative problem solving.
Right.
Lessons that shaped his entire career path.
Yeah.
You know, it's a reminder that sometimes the greatest learning comes from unexpected detours.
Yeah.
And that finding enjoyment in our efforts can lead to unforeseen opportunities.
That's a powerful takeaway.
It is.
It challenges us to ask ourselves how we can find more enjoyment in our work, even when faced with challenging tasks. Maybe it's about finding ways to be more creative, to collaborate with others, or to simply shift our perspective and approach our work with a more playful attitude.
Exactly. Now, let's dive into Law 8, which is all about collaboration. Always make your cooperation greater than your status.
Okay.
This one feels especially relevant, in today's world.
Yeah.
Where it's so competitive and so easy to get caught up in the pursuit of recognition and individual achievement.
It's about putting the team before the ego, right?
Exactly.
But how do you do that when everyone's vying for the spotlight?
Right. Well, Sullivan highlights the story of a woman named Ruth Samuelson who played a key role in a courthouse relocation project. Yeah. This could have easily turned into a political mess, with everyone fighting for their own interests. Yeah. But Ruth took a different approach.
So how did she navigate this potentially volatile situation? Did she just bulldoze everyone into submission?
Not at all. She brought all the different parties together, government officials, staff, everyone involved, to find a solution that benefited everyone by prioritizing cooperation over status and personal gain. She was able to, create a win-win situation.
Right.
And achieve a much more efficient outcome.
That's a fantastic example of how prioritizing cooperation can lead to better solutions, a more harmonious work environment.
Yeah.
And it's a reminder that sometimes the best way to get ahead is to work together, to leverage the collective intelligence and skills of the team.
Right. And it challenges us to, ask ourselves, how often do we let our desire for recognition or status get in the way of achieving the best possible outcome? Yeah. Are we truly collaborating or are we just trying to outshine everyone else? It's something to think about, especially as we move into the next law, which deals with purpose.
All right, bring on Law 9. Always make your purpose greater than your money. This one feels like it's not just about personal growth, but about living a truly fulfilling life.
Right. It's about recognizing that money is a tool, a means to an end, not the ultimate goal. And Sullivan uses the story of a man named Fidel Rigerzi to illustrate this principle.
Okay.
Fidel had a very, very lucrative career as an environmental consultant, helping corporations minimize their environmental impact.
Yeah.
But he became disillusioned, realizing that many companies were only willing to do the bare minimum to appear environmentally responsible.
Wow, that must have been a tough realization, especially when you're in a field that's supposed to be about making a positive impact.
Yeah, for sure.
What did he do?
Well, he decided to walk away from his, comfortable, well-paying job and founded a company that makes environmentally friendly energy solutions financially viable for large corporations.
Okay.
He wanted to prove that, doing the right thing could also be good for business.
That's incredible. He put his money where his mouth was, literally.
He did.
But what does this mean for the average person who maybe isn't in a position to start their own company?
Yeah. Well, it's about asking ourselves if our daily actions are aligned with our values and purpose. Are we chasing a paycheck, or are we striving to make a difference even in small ways? It's about finding that sweet spot where our work is both meaningful and sustainable.
That's a great point. It's not about having all the answers or making drastic changes overnight. It's about taking small steps in the direction of our purpose, aligning our actions with our values, and creating a life that feels both fulfilling and impactful.
Yeah.
Now, I'm really curious about this last law.
Law 10. Always make your questions bigger than your answers. This one is all about embracing the power of curiosity and recognizing that there's always more to learn.
Okay.
Sullivan emphasizes the importance of asking open-ended questions, the kind that spark further exploration and deeper understanding. He actually tells two stories that illustrate this point beautifully.
Okay.
One about a Starbucks manager named Tommy Sherwood, and the other about his own childhood experience.
Okay, I need to hear these stories, especially the Starbucks one, because who doesn't love a good Starbucks story?
Well, Tommy's story is all about the ripple effects of genuine curiosity.
Okay.
He noticed one of his baristas seemed down.
Yeah.
And instead of just assuming she was having a bad day, he asked her what was going on, and she confided in him that her brother was struggling to find work. And Tommy, without hesitation, offered him a job.
Wow, that's such a simple act of kindness, but it obviously had a huge impact on that young man's life. What about Sullivan's story?
Well, his story takes us back to his childhood. He was 9 years old, walking through cornfields when a plane flew overhead. And he turned to his father and asked, where do planes go at night?
Okay.
That simple question sparked a lifelong fascination with aviation.
Wow.
And it perfectly illustrates the power of asking those big open-ended questions.
It's amazing how a childhood question can shape a person's entire trajectory.
Yeah.
It reminds us that curiosity is a powerful engine for growth, and that even the simplest questions asked with genuine interest can lead to unexpected discoveries and opportunities.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's just the tip of the iceberg. We've only scratched the surface of these 10 laws. We've got so much more to unpack.
I know. We got so much more to unpack. But before we move on to part 2, I want to leave our listener with something to ponder.
Yep.
We've talked about making our future bigger than our past, learning from our experiences, contributing beyond expectations, finding joy in our effort, prioritizing cooperation over status, aligning our actions with purpose, and staying curious. That's a lot to digest.
It is.
So think about this. Like, what's one area of your life where you feel a little stuck, maybe where your comfort zone is holding you back?
Yeah.
And what's one great question you can ask yourself that might help you break free from that comfort trap and step into a more expansive future?
We'll be diving into those questions and more in part 2, so make sure you come back for more growth-inducing insights.
Definitely. All right.
Welcome back to our deep dive into Dan Sullivan's The Laws of Lifetime Growth. Before we move on, I hope you've had a chance to think about that area in your life where you feel stuck, and maybe even came up with that great question to help you break free, because that's exactly what we're going to explore now with Law 7. Always make your confidence greater than your comfort.
This one really resonated with me. It's about pushing beyond our comfort zones, embracing those challenges that help us grow, even when they feel a
Right.
bit scary.
Yeah. It's about recognizing that discomfort is often a sign that we're on the right track, that we're stretching ourselves and expanding our capabilities. And Sullivan uses this brilliant analogy of exercising our muscles. If we constantly push ourselves without rest, we risk burnout.
Right.
But if we stay in our comfort zone for too long, we become complacent and stagnant. It's all about finding that sweet spot, that balance between challenge and recovery.
He also talks about like transforming fear into action, which is something I think a lot of people struggle with, right?
For sure.
We have these amazing ideas and dreams, but then fear creeps in and we end up talking ourselves out of taking that leap.
It's so true. But Sullivan emphasizes that courage is not the absence of fear. It's the ability to act despite it. And he actually shares a personal story about how he decided to celebrate his 60th birthday by doing 3 things he'd never done before, like running a marathon, swimming across Lake Ontario, and going whitewater rafting on the Colorado River.
Wow, that's quite a birthday bucket list. Was he like a super athlete or something?
Not at all. These were all things that were way outside his comfort zone. It took months of intense training, pushing himself both physically and mentally, but by embracing the challenge, he not only achieved these incredible feats, but he also gained a newfound level of confidence that extended to other areas of his life.
It's a great reminder that growth often lies on the other side of fear.
Absolutely.
And that by taking on challenges that force us to stretch our capabilities, we build confidence. That spills over into everything we do. I can definitely relate to that. There have been times in my life where I've been like terrified to do something, but then I do it and it's like, wow, I did that.
Right.
What else can I do?
Exactly. And it's not just about those big audacious goals, It's about the small steps we take each day to push ourselves a little further, to try something new, to speak up when we normally wouldn't. Each of those actions, builds our confidence muscle and makes us more resilient in the face of future challenges.
He also talks about the importance of taking comfort breaks, which seems kind of counterintuitive to this whole idea of constantly pushing ourselves. But it makes sense when you think about it.
It does. It's not about, getting complacent or giving up on our goals. It's about recognizing that we need time to recharge, to integrate what we've learned, and to allow our new level of confidence to become our new normal. It's like when you're working out, you need rest days to allow your muscles to repair and grow stronger.
Okay, so we've talked about pushing beyond our comfort zones and embracing challenges, but what about those times when we find ourselves stuck in a rut, in a comfort trap, as Sullivan calls it?
Yeah, well, that's when it becomes even more crucial to apply this law. Sullivan shares a story of a talented dancer named Lisa Nomura who had kind of settled into this comfortable but unfulfilling career. She had convinced herself that she wasn't good enough, making excuses about her size and doubting her talent.
It's so easy to get caught up in those negative self-beliefs. We create these stories in our minds that hold us back from pursuing our true passions.
Exactly. And it often takes someone else, someone who sees our potential to help us break free from those limiting beliefs. And in Lisa's case, it was a chance encounter with a former mentor who reminded her that dance isn't about shape or size, it's about spirit.
What a powerful statement. I bet that gave her the push she needed.
It did. Lisa quit her job, took a leap of faith, and committed to a career as a full-time performer. And even though she faced challenges and moments of self-doubt, she kept pushing forward, eventually creating a successful career on her own terms.
It's a reminder that we all have those moments where we need someone to believe in us, to see our potential and encourage us to step outside our comfort zone. And sometimes we need to be that person for ourselves. To look in the mirror and say, you got this. You can do it.
I love that. Now Sullivan offers some practical advice on how to break free from those comfort traps and cultivate greater confidence. He suggests, using goals as a way to get ourselves in motion.
That makes sense. Having a clear target gives us something to aim for
Yeah.
and a way to track our progress.
Right.
But sometimes the thought of setting big goals can be really overwhelming.
He acknowledges that, and he encourages us to break down those big goals into smaller, more manageable steps. It's about focusing on the process, on taking consistent action, rather than getting caught up in the outcome.
So it's not just about achieving those goals. It's about the journey.
Yeah.
The growth we experience along the way,
Yes, sir.
the challenges we overcome.
And he also suggests using our past as a model for building confidence. It's about recognizing that we've already achieved things we once thought were impossible.
Oh, I like that. It's like, if I could do that, then I can definitely do this.
Exactly. By looking back at our past successes, even the small ones, we can tap into that reservoir of confidence and use it to fuel our future growth. It's a reminder that we're more capable than we often give ourselves credit for.
It's all about shifting our perspective, focusing on what we've accomplished, rather than dwelling on our perceived failures.
Right.
It brings us back to that first law.
Yes.
Making our future bigger than our past.
And that beautifully segues into the final law, which is all about embracing a mindset of continuous learning and curiosity.
Yes. Law 10, always make your questions bigger than your answers. This one feels particularly important in a world that's constantly changing, where information is readily available.
Right.
But true wisdom seems harder to find.
It's about recognizing that we don't have all the answers, and that's okay. In fact, it's a good thing. It means there's always more to discover, more to learn, more to explore. And Sullivan emphasizes that great questions are open-ended, the kind that spark further exploration and lead us down unexpected paths.
And he told those great stories to illustrate this point, right?
Yeah, he did.
The one about the Starbucks manager and his own childhood experience, those stories really stuck with me.
They're so powerful, aren't they? Tommy Sherwood's simple act of asking his barista what was wrong led to a life-changing opportunity for her brother, demonstrating how genuine curiosity can create a ripple effect of positive change. And Sullivan's childhood question about where planes go at night sparked a lifelong passion for aviation, showcasing how curiosity can shape our entire trajectory.
It's about asking questions, not just to get information, but to gain understanding, to connect with others on a deeper level, and to spark new ideas and possibilities.
It's about approaching life with a sense of wonder and a thirst for knowledge, recognizing that the journey of learning is just as important as the destination.
So it's not just about asking any old question. It's about asking the right questions, the kind that lead to deeper understanding and inspire further exploration.
Exactly. Sullivan talks about asking genuine questions, those driven by a true desire to learn rather than trying to prove a point or steer the conversation in a particular direction. It's about being open to new perspectives and allowing ourselves to be surprised by what we discover.
He also mentions the importance of embracing what we don't know, which can be tough for those of us who like to feel like we have all the answers.
It's about being comfortable with uncertainty and recognizing that not knowing is often the starting point for learning and growth. It's like that saying, the only true wisdom is in knowing you know nothing.
Wow. That's deep.
Yeah.
And it really ties in nicely with the concept of lifelong growth, doesn't it?
It does.
We're constantly evolving, learning, unlearning, and relearning.
Right.
It's a never-ending journey of discovery.
And the more we embrace that journey, the more fulfilling and impactful our lives become.
Okay, so we're back for the final part of our deep dive into Dan Sullivan's The Laws of Lifetime Growth. We left off with you thinking about an area of your life where you feel stuck. Maybe came up with a great question to help you break free. But as we've been talking about all these laws and stories, one thing that keeps coming back to me is this isn't just about personal growth in isolation.
Yeah.
It's like there's a ripple effect that happens when we commit to growth.
Absolutely. It's as if our individual choices to grow and evolve create these expanding circles of influence
Yeah.
that impact not only ourselves but also the people around us
Right.
and even the world at large. And Sullivan really drives this point home by sharing several examples of how personal growth
Yeah.
has led to these unexpected and far-reaching outcomes.
Okay, give me some examples. I'm all about those aha moments
Okay.
where you see how everything connects.
Well, remember Catherine and her microwave mishap?
Yes.
The one that taught her about time management and reducing stress?
Yeah, totally. I can still picture that microwave crashing to the floor.
Well, it turns out that her experience inspired her mother to make similar changes in her own life.
Oh, wow.
It's a perfect example of how one person's commitment to growth can have a ripple effect, influencing those closest to them.
That's so cool. It reminds me of the story of Tommy Sherwood, the Starbucks manager who hired the barista's brother.
Right.
It wasn't just a job. It was a chance for that young man to turn his life around.
Exactly. And it wasn't just about the young man either.
Right.
The ripple effect extended even further.
Okay.
The regional manager heard about what Tommy did
Okay.
and recognized his exceptional character.
Yeah.
Which opened up, new opportunities for Tommy within the company. It highlights how actions that are aligned with growth and purpose can create, a web of positive consequences impacting people in ways we might never I realize.
All right, I need one more example. Give me a story that really shows the power of these ripple effects.
Okay, how about Matthew Passmore, the artist who built the Cabinet National Library in the desert?
Yeah.
What started as a quirky personal project ended up transforming the way cities think about public space.
Yeah.
It inspired the parking day movement, which encourages people to temporarily transform parking spaces into mini parks.
Wait, really? That's incredible. From a library in the desert to a global movement reimagining urban spaces.
Yeah.
That's a pretty epic ripple effect.
It is, and it shows how one person's creative contribution can spark something much bigger, leading to widespread change and impacting communities in ways they never imagined. It really emphasizes the interconnectedness of everything and the potential we all have to make a difference.
These stories really drive home the point that our personal growth isn't just about us.
Right.
It's about recognizing that we're part of something bigger and that our choices to grow, to learn, to contribute.
Absolutely.
Can create positive change that extends far beyond ourselves.
And it circles back to Sullivan's core belief that a world where individuals prioritize growth, purpose, and contribution is a world filled with abundance, innovation, and interconnectedness. It's a world where everyone benefits, not just a select few.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into the laws of lifetime growth, what's the one key takeaway we want our listener to walk away with? What's that nugget of wisdom they can apply to their life right now?
I think it's the empowering message that growth is a choice, a journey we can embark on at any moment. It doesn't matter what our circumstances are or what our past experiences have been.
Right.
It's about cultivating a mindset that embraces challenges, seeks learning, and prioritizes purpose over those fleeting rewards. It's about realizing that we have the power to shape our own future.
And it's about recognizing that even small steps taken consistently and with intention can create a ripple effect. It's about having the courage to ask those great questions, to step outside our comfort zones and to contribute our unique talents and gifts to the world.
So we encourage you to revisit that question you formulated earlier. What's one area of your life where you feel called to step outside your comfort zone and embrace the transformative power of growth? What small action can you take today, right now, to put these principles into practice?
Because remember, the future is yours to create. Choose to make it a future filled with growth, purpose, and meaningful contribution. Until next time, keep diving deep, stay curious, and never stop growing.